Welcome into the FNIA podcast. As always, we are presented by Lowe's. Gentlemen, you know Tony Dungy in the middle, Rodney Harrison on the outside, Jac Collinsworth. We are headed into week number 7, believe it or not. And leaving week 6, a couple of the teams that were marked down as favorites at the beginning of the year in the preseason Super Bowl favorites, the Bills, the Eagles. They both start 4-0, and then they lose 2 straight. Coach, which of these two teams right now are you concerned with most after dropping 2?
Well, I'm actually concerned with both of them because I want to know, when you play the good teams, who are you? What's your identity? In Philadelphia, I think it's very much self-inflicted. They went along, maybe weren't playing great, but they're 4-0, they're rolling. And then the last 2 games against Denver and the Giants, all of a sudden, against Denver, it's 38 passes and 9 runs by the running backs. And then against the Giants, it's 33 passes and 12 runs by the running backs. I'm sorry, Philadelphia, but that's not who you are. So I think you can fix this very easily, and it's not hard. Lean on your offensive line, lean on your running backs, and you're going to be okay.
Yeah, I look at it as both these teams have targets on their back, and it seems like everyone studied these teams in the offseason, Josh Allen being the MVP, and obviously the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. So everybody's doing everything they can to create this roster to compete with these guys. And to me, Coach, it's the Bills. I'm really concerned about the Bills, and it's on the defensive side of the ball. We've already talked to one of their coaches. We talked about the defensive line not being up to par right now. It's going to take some time with some young guys and some new guys that they have. But, Coach, what I saw on Monday night was very disturbing to me. I didn't like their secondary. You guys know that I've always been concerned with their secondaries. Their safeties aren't very good. Cole Bishop is not a starting safety in this league. Tre'Davious White, he's no longer a starter. So half their secondary, those are guys that should be playing special teams or rotational guys. So I'm really concerned about the Bills on the defensive side of the ball. I know offensively, Jack, they can score points, but it's going to come down to this defense, and they're not very good.
Well, you're a former DB, and so you're looking at the back end. I'm looking at the front end. We had them opening night, and we talked to the Baltimore coaches, and they said, we're going to run downhill at these guys. That's what we have to do. They didn't stop Derrick Henry. They did not stop Bijan Robinson. He had the downhill running game going at them, and then that puts pressure on you. And what I saw Monday night from Josh Allen, it was disturbing to me. I don't know if our defense can stop people. We're going to have to throw. I'm going to have to make big plays, and then you get into the same risk-taking that he had in the past couple of years. James Cook's averaging almost 6 yards a carry, doesn't get the ball because they're trying to score and catch up. They've got to get that defense shored up so they can play balanced football, and that's going to be a task, I believe.
And Coach, I'm also thinking, too, that the Bills, they need a difference maker at the wide receiver position. I can't go with this Keon Coleman. I mean, he's a guy that's supposed to be your 3rd or 4th wide receiver, but you're looking at him to be your number 2. He's not mature enough. He's just not ready for the moment. If I'm them, I'm looking aggressively to go out and try to make a splash. Maybe try to go grab a A.J. Brown or something like that. Who knows? Something like that may happen, Coach.
I'm disagreeing with you. I like their offense the way it is. When they can play balanced football, their offense is fine. The problem that they've had the last couple of weeks is now I'm trying to outscore the other team. I'm going to just throw the ball, and maybe then you don't have those great receivers. But if I'm spending money for Buffalo, I'm spending it on defense. Get me a difference maker up front and get me maybe a couple of secondary guys who can lock things down back there. But I think if they get their defense fixed, their offense will be fine.
Let me ask you this. So if they double team Khalil Shakir, who do they go to? Palmer? They go to Keon Coleman? You're trusting those guys with your
the
future?
Tight ends, the running backs, I'm fine. Josh Allen is going to make plays for me. I don't really worry about that. I think they can score when they need to, as long as it's not a situation where I have to throw and it goes all on Josh again.
Well, I just say this, the last 2 weeks, they couldn't score when they wanted to. That's why they lost the last 2 weeks.
Are the issues defensively fixable, Rodney? Is the personnel in the building there to fix those issues? How do you see the Bills' defense?
No, I think they have to. they need help at the safety position. They also need that third corner. Now, Maxwell Harrison is the young guy that they drafted, but we don't know about him. We know that he was a good college player, but we don't know what his transition is going to be playing in the NFL. So I'm looking at the safety spot. I'm looking at that second corner spot opposite of Christian Benford. And of course, the things up front, Coach, I don't know if it can be fixed right now. I don't know if these guys are good enough. I don't know if they're experienced enough. I don't believe it can be fixed right now.
I'm kind of with you. They've got to do something up front to change things around. And in games where you're playing offenses that can't really attack you, it doesn't show up. But in the big games, the big moments, they're going to need that defense. When they play Kansas City, they're going to need that defense to step up and stop the run and squeeze Patrick Mahomes. If they don't, you're right. It's going to be a long, long day.
Yeah, they gave up 1 million points week 1 against the Ravens. Should have lost that game. I mean, 9 times
we
out
know
of 10,
it's not a great offense right now. We know that.
We know that, right, Coach? And so they very easily, probably 99 times out of 100, you lose that game in week 1. Miraculous come from behind at the finish of it. So that could have been where the panic alarm first rang. It did not. They find a way to win that game. So that's what their wins are left side of the screen. Patriots came to town. You guys were all over it. They struggled to stop the run. They struggled to stop the pass. Drake May, sort of a coming out moment for his career. And then again, it happens with Atlanta. Rodney, you know the Falcons well. I'm curious, how much of this is Atlanta starting to arrive as well? Do you feel like Atlanta is one of those ascending teams in the NFL, or is it more bad Buffalo?
No, I mean, I think it's a combination of everything. I think it's, bad defense. I think it's good Atlanta's offense. I think Bijan, they ran into a guy last night with Bijan. Not last night, but the other night, who's just a phenomenal player. And even we talked about, hey, maybe when they get Ed Oliver back, this defensive line is going to step up and be the defensive line that we're used to seeing it. And still, they had one of their worst games with him back, with their best player back. So I just look, the Buffalo Bills are in trouble. Coach, like you talked about, we know they can score points on offense, but they have to be able to stop people on defense. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass, and they can't tackle. They're just not very good right now. It looked really bad when I went back and watched the tape.
Yeah. And the alarm to me was the Miami game. It's a struggle. They pull it off at the end. You got the Saints at home, and it's a nip and tuck in the fourth quarter. That's why we ended up going with New England the next week, because they weren't playing dominant ball even against those poor teams.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Let's get to Sunday Night Football. This was the Chiefs, the Lions. People felt like two of the top teams on either side of the conference, though everyone a little watered down on what we've seen from the Chiefs thus far, a team that's now starting to heat up again. Is Kansas City back? Coach, I'll start with you here. Is Kansas City back as one of these top contenders?
I think they're coming back. They had 3 very good quarters against Jacksonville. They had a good game against Detroit. They had some breakdowns in the fourth quarter, penalties, mistakes. And Patrick Mahomes told me before the game, we just have to eliminate that. That's uncharacteristic of us. We've got to change that. Well, they did change that against Detroit. They came out with that championship mindset, no penalties, no turnovers. They play like that, they're in pretty good shape. And Rodney, their offensive line, I think you and I were both impressed. Every time we've had the Chiefs, we've said, boy, that's a problem, that's a problem, that's a problem. But it wasn't really a problem Sunday night, and that's big for Kansas City.
Absolutely, Coach. They just got back on track, and for them to have that must win versus the hottest team in the NFL, the experience showed up. And Coach, you talked about it. You said, hey, I'm a team guy and I focus on the team, but tonight the Chiefs have to have their superstars step up, and Mahomes, his leadership. You talked about Kelsey making some good plays early. Yeah. Chris Jones, we saw him with the better effort. So to me, man, I found out a lot about the Chiefs. It's just that experience and that belief they have, and now they get Rashee Rice back, and those other guys like Hollywood Brown, they're gleaming with confidence. Jack, Kansas City is back, and people better watch out for this team.
I think they're all the way back. Rodney, I think they're better than they were last year. A team that went to the Super Bowl. I know they got blown out in the Super Bowl, but I think this has a chance to be better than that.
Yes.
Maybe way better than that. Coach, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Their offensive line is much better. What we saw Sunday night was better. Now they get Simmons back. They're going to be even that much more ahead of the game. Their 3 running backs are good. The young back adds some things to it. Their receiving core, Rodney, is deeper than it's ever been. Now you get Rice back and Tyquan Thornton, along with Hollywood Brown and these guys playing well. They've got a lot of weaponry, and they've got Andy Reid. I thought the coaching was magnificent, especially in the second half for Kansas City. Andy Reid changed things up, attacked that zone defense. Spags staying with 3 linebackers the whole game and said, hey, we're going to slow this running game down and make you beat us throwing the ball. I thought they had outstanding coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to give a lot of props to Andy Reid. The thing about the Lions, too, is defensively, coach, they lose 2 guys in the secondary. They lose 2 guys in the secondary and have to totally change their entire game plan, just losing 2 guys. So to me, that's been a position that they really need to create some depth. I know they went out and got Arthur Millette, but they need to go out and get a couple more cornerbacks. You know how those DBs pull hamstrings, they get hurt. They just need to be a little bit more aggressive getting those defensive backs. But I just love the game plan. Andy Reid, he seemed pretty patient in the run game. Patrick Mahomes spreading the ball around, and just the overall energy and excitement. You just felt the experience of the Kansas City Chiefs.
And you talk about Detroit. I was a little surprised at that. I was in Detroit on Friday. Dan Campbell tells me, yeah, man-to-man is in our DNA. We've got dogs. We like dogs. We're going to come down and lock people down. And then because of the injuries, they were nervous, so they got away from their game plan. I just didn't expect to see that. And then you look at the Lions. They're playing good ball, but they beat some bad teams too. When they showed up against good teams, they haven't gotten it done yet. So they've got a little work to do, I think.
But, Coach, I'm also looking at their offensive line. And I told you guys, I said, this offensive line is still a very big physical offensive line, but they're not as good as they were last year. When you lose a couple guys, you change your plan a little bit, and it just looked differently. And I felt they were going to come out and be able to run the ball maybe 100, 150 yards, and they just couldn't do it on a consistent basis.
Yeah, well, they did early in the game, and that's kind of what's curious to me about this is if you go watch the first quarter, it was they're moving it, and I know they have no Taylor Decker at left tackle, which is a big loss for them. In the middle, Skipper comes in, who's kind of their additional lineman that he uses like a bigger tight end, and they'll oversize that. He was now that left tackle. Frank Ragnow at the center position being gone. Those are big losses on what was a once dominant offensive line. I wonder if Philly's dealing with a few of the same things. You lose some guys, is it still as dominant? But they were able to. And then in the second quarter, Coach, all of a sudden, the Chiefs were stopping them. How?
Well, I don't know that they stopped them, but they kind of lost that mentality. We're running the ball. We're getting 5. We're getting 8. We're getting 4. And then all of a sudden, that seemed to be not good enough. And, okay, I've got to do something else. And that's where Philly is right now, too. Hey, we're running the ball, but we're not getting these explosive runs. You got to be able to stay with it. And I didn't think they stayed with their running game against Kansas City. And to me, that's what they need to do. That's who they are. Run those 2 guys and then get your explosive pass plays.
Hey, Coach, the one thing I did pick up, and this is not a negative, I love the confidence of the Detroit Lions. But the one thing I did walk away in that pregame, just talking to some guys and stuff, they almost have an arrogance about them. You know what I mean? It's almost this air, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but they have this great feeling, this confidence about them. They have this air around them, and I'm like, man, this team's got somewhat of an arrogance. But to say this, it seemed like they just overlooked Kansas City just a little bit. And I know when you watch them on tape and you can see, they don't look very good. Patrick Mahomes, he's doing all these different things trying to score points, but I felt like an arrogance. And sometimes you need a loss like this to bring you back down to reality to kind of refocus you, Coach.
Well, it's funny you say that because that's one of the questions I asked Dan Campbell when I was in Detroit. Hey, Dan, you came there and you guys were the underdogs. Everybody's telling you, you're terrible, and you're building this up and these guys are fighting and you are getting these dogs. Well, now, this year, everybody's telling you, you're the best team in football. We're going to the Super Bowl. How do you counteract that and how do you keep them hungry? And we had a discussion about that, and I think you're right. I think there is some of that.
Wow.
Yeah. But this is also a little bit of a recurring nightmare for them because this was one of the most dominant teams in the NFL last year. And they're rolling along, and you get to the end of the year, and they started having injuries in the secondary, DBs, cornerbacks. And all of a sudden, they weren't that dominant team. Now Brian Branch is going to be, in addition to that, given that, shot, it was an open hand shot, but it was at the very end of the game, results in a fist fight that, both teams get involved with as it was in victory formation. And now he is suspended for one game. Rodney, your reaction? You called for this. You said he should be suspended. How do you see it now?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Brian Branch. And the thing that I would tell him as a leader, I'm like, look, Brian, we love you, man. We believe in you. Keep being who you are. You just have to play smarter. In a situation like that, always 100% put your team first. It's not about you at that moment. You don't want to do anything. And listen, and this is the step further, what he doesn't understand. We're already missing two DBs. And now we lose our best player in the secondary. I mean, that's a tough blow. So now if you made it all about yourself, you didn't make it about the team, but you have to keep that in mind, Coach.
Exactly. And I thought Dan Campbell handled it perfectly. Came out and said, this is not who we are. This is unacceptable. We'll get it straightened out. Brian's going to learn from this. And you do. You go to Brian Branch and say, hey, you're one of our leaders, and you've hurt the team. And you're going to sit there and watch this game Monday night, wishing you were out there, and there's nothing you can do about it now. So you got to remember in the future, you're a leader, and you've got to be a full team guy. You can't let those individual moments just sink in there. And Rodney's absolutely right. He's going to learn from this. May cost him something here on Monday night, though.
But let me my last point with him too is he's got to use this almost like it's a bye week. He has an opportunity to get his body right, his mind right, and he has to be a great teammate by helping those younger guys, helping that secondary, watching tape, calling those guys because he can't come into the facility. Just helping those guys get familiar with their next opponent and what they have to do and things like that. So he can still help, but he's just got to be a good teammate and use this as a bye week.
And the fine and the money and everything is not even going to mean anything to him when he's sitting there on Monday night and it's back and forth. It's nip and tuck in the fourth quarter. And he's saying, I should be out there helping my guys, and I'm not there. That's going to be the biggest painful moment for him.
It was a poorly timed retaliation. If you go back and watch the last 3 minutes of the game, Juju Smith-Schuster comes up and gets him clearly in the back. Branch is coming in to kind of try to make a tackle with the line, and Juju just completely hits him in the back. It was not called at all. And you could just tell by his demeanor the next handful of plays, he was waiting on his moment to get his get back. And for whatever reason, he didn't get his get back until victory formation when he walks right past Mahomes and goes straight to him. With the whole world watching at that point, it was very poorly timed, and he got. Go ahead, Rob.
Hey, Jack, and you have to understand who you're playing against if you're Brian Branch. Juju Smith-Schuster, he's a weasel. He's going to dance, and he's going to do all these little things for social media. You can't get caught up in that. Just like when you're going against DK Metcalf, he's going to try to play physical. He's going to try to bully around. Know who your opponent is and keep your composure. Correct, Coach?
Absolutely. You have to have the scouting report. and I'm sure as players, you guys go over that amongst yourselves, don't you, Rod?
Absolutely. And we say, hey, man, Juju Smith-Schuster, when he catches the ball, let's make sure we hit him hard. He's going to get up and try some dance. Keep your composure. Don't let these guys get under your skin. You talk about it all the time.
Yeah. As a side note, I have been pretty impressed by the minutes that Juju's been able to provide for Kansas City. He's been a little bit of a weapon for him. And
he's been a stud for him.
But those are the guys Andy Reid loves. He trusts them. He puts them in position to do what they do best, and they flourish under his system.
Coach, you almost forget about them because they're so quiet. They don't complain about the ball. You never hear, you never see him pouting about the ball, and all of a sudden he has 4 or 5 catches, and he's the difference maker.
Juju. All right, let's move it on down because we do have our first coaching change. And interesting, Schefter was saying that Adam Schefter, that he didn't think there would be a change. About an hour later, there is a change, and it's the Titans who let go Brian Callahan. Coach, your reaction to this?
Well, I'm never a fan of changes during the season unless there's a big problem unless the team is quit. Now, if you see a team that's going out there and they're not giving effort and there's a lot of grumbling inside, then maybe you have to do it. I don't know what these midseason changes do to help you in the long run. So we'll see what happens. I don't know all the details in Tennessee, but I think it's probably a little too soon for my liking.
For me, Coach, I think that when sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. And the biggest challenge for me is coming into work for a guy that I don't trust, I don't believe in, hearing his message. And I got to listen to that message every single day. And I'm sitting in my seat and I'm looking at this coach and saying, I don't believe in this guy. I don't trust this guy. I'm not coming in early for this guy. I'm not doing it. And that's what I think happened. You get a lot of those guys, they don't believe in him. And I thought this was the right, smart move. And now you get a new guy that comes in. You have a different voice, a different perspective. The coach is telling you, hey, guys, we're starting over. It's a new slate. I'm going to judge you based off of what you do right now. So that makes guys feel good. It gives you a chance to be excited, gives you a different perspective. So to me, I think in this situation, when you're young number one pick quarterback comes and say that we are the worst team in the league, that's not a good thing. That means that head coach has not been really in contact with that young man. And I thought it was the right move to make.
And I think you're absolutely right. And Jack, I think that's what ownership and good general managers do when they have a situation like this. They look at the players, they watch the players, they get the vibe. And does Rodney Harrison still believe in our guy? Or is he saying, no, I don't? I can remember Dan Rooney, former owner who's passed away, the Steelers, telling me about his first year with Chuck Noll. Steelers won their first game, lost 13 straight after that. And Dan said, I could tell by the players and the way they were practicing, the way they responded, I knew we had the right guy, even though we were 1-13, because they were still working, they still believed, and it wasn't an issue. By the same token, you can see it the other way. If the players have given up, if they don't believe, if they don't want to hear that message anymore, then you can tell.
Hey, and one thing that I was thinking about too, guys, is I feel bad for one of their players who I think has been an outstanding player for a long time, Coach, and that's been Jeffrey Simmons. And I hate the fact that he has to go through this. And I think they should trade him just based off of just showing him some love. I mean, because he could be a difference maker. You think about Jeffrey Simmons, and if he goes to whether it's the Cowboys or somewhere else, somebody that needs a really a playmaking defensive tackle, he could be a difference maker for somebody.
No, he could, but you have to put yourself in the position of ownership. They're saying, we're going to get the right guy in here. And when we get him, we need some leaders. We need some guys who are going to be the beacons. And I want to keep him here so he can establish that. It's a tough call. And I know Tampa went through that before I got there. They'd had 13 straight losing seasons, gone through several different coaches, traded a lot of good players away, and it just didn't seem like it. But I was glad when I got there that we had Tony Mayberry, Derek Brooks, and some guys who we could build on, that they didn't just say, oh, well, these guys are really good guys and good players, let them go someplace else.
Yeah, it's true. And I think what makes this even tougher, too, is the realization and maybe verification that you had the right guy in Mike Vrabel. And you
They
let him
have to
walk
be
right
sick about that. They have to be sick about that.
And he was the right kind of coach for them. He was the right guy in the community. That Nashville community really loved Vrabel. And so when you let him go, and then you get somebody who's worse, and then he goes somewhere else like New England and has success, and now all of a sudden in week 7, the Patriots, coached by Mike Vrabel, are coming back into Tennessee when you're 1-5, and you just fired your coach.
Look out.
I mean, that makes it even worse, doesn't it, Coach?
It does. And Mike will have he won't want to pour it on Willie Rod. Yes, he will. If it was me, I'd say, if we can win this 100-0, let's go do it.
Absolutely. He'll be ready. You better believe that. That would be his most focused week.
Crazy. People always think they can do a little bit better, but you better be careful about getting a lot of bit worse. All right, let's get on down to around the league. It's time for Take Your Pick. The bigger surprise, the 1-5 Ravens or the 4-1 Steelers. Rod, I'll let you start here.
For me, it's not even about the biggest surprise. I mean, I think we obviously know the biggest surprise, but for me, it's been the Steelers. Just looking at their defense, they're healthy. And then I'm looking at defensive tackle Derek Harmon next to Cam Hayward, and just the work that they put in, and just it almost seems like the young guys had a huge impact on Cam Hayward, pushed him a bit, but Deshaun Elliott, those guys in the secondary coach, they've been fantastic. You heard me on Sunday talk about Jalen Ramsey and the impact that he has playing all the different positions. You see him playing nickel, he's playing outside corner, he's playing deep free safety. His versatility has really helped this defense out, man, and they're finally healthy and playing like it, Coach.
Yeah, I think no doubt the bigger surprise is the Ravens. I just didn't think they would fall apart like this. We had them opening night, Rob. We're talking to their players. Yeah, we were frustrated. We gave that playoff game away. We can't do that. We're ready. We've gone through all this in training camp. Lamar has become a better leader. Everybody's focused. And for 3.5 quarters, they looked like one of the best teams in football. And then they fell apart. And all of a sudden now they're not stopping anybody. They're struggling on offense. They can't run the ball. I never thought they'd fall apart like that. The Steelers, I thought, would be good. I thought if they could get good, solid quarterback play, they'd be fine. And then the defense, as Rodney said, wasn't playing great early on, and the quarterback was carrying them. Well, now they've got the defense coming, and I said, look out for the Steelers. If Aaron can stay healthy, they're going to be a factor down the stretch.
Yeah, you mentioned the defense, Coach, and to me, when I'm just watching them, it seems like they've worked out some miscommunication issues that they've had in the secondary. You don't see the blown coverages. You don't see guys running free. And that's the thing that really takes the life and heart out of a defense when you practice all week and then somebody blows a coverage and it's an easy touchdown. As long as they don't do that, they continue to communicate. They have the players, those veterans in that secondary. They can get it done. I'm excited. And I'll tell you this too, man. Aaron Rodgers, he's really been that calming presence for these guys. He's done a good job of kind of getting everybody involved, using his tight ends, just keeping everybody at bay. And probably even more than that, it's just giving everybody hope because of his presence, because of all his experience and him talking to these guys and teaching them the game. Aaron has been fantastic behind the scenes, and that's something that a lot of people don't realize about him.
No, he really has. He's held them together when the defense was still putting things together. And as you say, it's easy to say, oh, we've got Darius Slade now and we've got Jalen Ramsey, so we're going to be better. Well, those guys, they still have to know each other and get the communication going. It looks like that's coming now. And if they step up like we think they can, boy, that could be a really good defense. They're running the ball better. Metcalf and Aaron seem to have a chemistry now. So I look for them to just get better this second half of the year.
Yep.
Me too. I think they just got to keep Rodgers healthy. I mean, I think it's really that simple with them. Outside of that, I think it's just going to get better and better and better. I mean, ever since Big Ben Roethlisberger retired, they've been looking for stability at the quarterback position. They're always going to play great defense. They're always going to rush the passer. They're always going to be a team that's gritty and tough and physical and take you into the fourth quarter. But now they have a quarterback that can go win those games. That's a scary sight for the rest of the AFC North. And right now they're creating this type of separation in the North where I don't think anybody's going to catch them, Coach. Do you?
No, I agree with you. And there isn't that one dominant team, that you have to worry about if you're Pittsburgh. You don't have a team that's just playing lights out. Buffalo isn't, going to be 17 or 15-2, So I think they're in good position. I think they're building confidence. And Aaron Rodgers, I think Mike Tomlin saw this coming all the way. He played it kind of coy, but if I can get a quarterback who can just solidify us and make those 1 or 2 plays that we need when we need it, we're going to be okay. And that's what they look like.
Yeah, it just seems like this is the right place for Aaron Rodgers. He seems happy, he seems content, and he has the utmost respect for Mike Tomlin. And I think that's the key. Aaron doesn't need the money. He doesn't need any more fame, but being in the right situation with the right guy, their personalities have meshed. He's talked about it, and that's a big reason why he's playing as well as he's playing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I tell you this too, the good quarterback, right? That offensive line is actually playing better. Remember, early on, it wasn't playing very well. So that offensive line started to say, man, we got Aaron Rodgers back there. Let's try extra hard to make sure that we protect him and do things. So I think Arthur Smith, their offense coordinator, he's done a good job with him as well, Coach.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's actually benefited Aaron too to get away from bringing all his friends to these places where he goes and the receivers that and just get guys that are going to help you win. Just surround yourself with good football players and kind of that hard edge coach of Mike Tomlin, who he's always respected. And it's just been the right environment. And like you said, Rod, he doesn't need money or fame, but he did need to kind of fix this second half of his career. And he's been able to patch it up there, Coach. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think he's on a mission, just like Tom Brady was on a mission to win one at the end of his career. And I think he has changed a little bit and said, let me fit into this Steeler culture and let me just win a Super Bowl. And then, as Rodney said, I'm going to be happy there. If I can put that on my resume, that's what I'm looking for right now.
That's just the final stamp on that Hall of Fame career. Bigger surprise, the Seahawks at 4-2 or the Patriots at 4-2? Rodney, go ahead.
You have to say the Patriots. And I thought Vrabel did a really good job of, and one of the things that he talked to me about was it takes time to get your people in that locker room. And I thought he did a really good job initially of turning those players over in the locker room. I thought he did a great job of getting the right guys on offensive line, defensive line, and he made it a priority to build that offensive line behind that young quarterback, drafting Will Campbell, going out getting Morgan Moses and some other offensive linemen. So for them, but the smartest move he made, Coach, was bringing in Josh McDaniels and allowing him to work hand in hand with Drake May. Your thoughts, Coach?
Yeah. No, I agree. That's a bigger surprise to me. There was no doubt in my mind Coach Vrabel would get things going, get his personality embedded there, and they were going to be good. But I thought it would take a while, maybe a year and a half, as you say, to get your type of people in. But he has done a great job of changing the mentality. Josh McDaniels has done an outstanding job with that offense. May is playing great. Booty and Douglas and getting those guys involved in the offense. Stephon Diggs, he wants to win now and show what he's all about. So they've done it really, really well. I actually saw the Seahawks practice this summer, and I thought they would be good. Clint Kubiak, their new offensive coordinator, that bringing that San Francisco, Denver physical mentality. They went from a team that was in shotgun 75% of the time last year to being under center, running the ball. We're going to start with Kenneth Walker and the zone running and then build off of that. And they've got a good football team. Again, I thought their defensive coaches did a great job down in Jacksonville last week. 3 starters out. You're going against a pretty explosive offensive team. Leslie Frazier told me, we cut everything down. Simple. Let the young guys know what they're doing. We're not doing a lot of stuff. We'll blitz a little bit more to put pressure, but we're just going to play a couple defenses and hustle, and they shut Jacksonville down.
Hey, Coach, when you have that defensive line, that front, the front guys that they have, you can do that. You can keep it simple in the secondary and at the linebacker position and let Leonard Williams and those guys do their thing. Byron Murphy, they're fantastic, Jack.
Yeah, and I think the more wide open the league is, which it is this year, there's not that dominant team. It's hard to even pick the best team. The more it benefits teams like these, the Patriots, the Seahawks. If you can get this thing rolling, they could be one of those curious risers like a Washington a year ago where you look up and go, how are they still playing? And here they are. Go ahead, Coach.
I agree. It's the mentality. If we don't beat ourselves, we play our game week in and week out, we can get 11, 12 wins because we're not going to self-destruct, and we're going to be tougher than you down the stretch. And that's what a lot of these teams are preaching. That's what you're seeing.
Yep. All right, let's get down to who do you trust more? The Buccaneers at 5-1 or the Colts at 5-1? Rodney, go ahead.
Well, this has been tough because, I've talked about my Colts this year, but I got to go with the Bucs, and it's with Baker Mayfield, man. Baker Mayfield is absolute stud. He seems like he's just on this mission, Coach. They can't sack him. They can't take him down. He's breaking tackles. He's just been such a tremendous leader, and he's just playing emotionally and mentally on a totally different level, Coach. You can explain it. You live down there. Who do you trust more?
No, you're absolutely right. And this is a tough question for me because half of my kids were born in Tampa and half of them were born in Indy. So we got red on one side of the house and blue on the other side of the house. But being here in Tampa, that's what you experience, right? I was at the post office this morning. And the guy just comes up to me. How about our Bucks? Isn't Baker's a dog? Baker's a dog. that is the whole mentality of the whole city right now, and it's the mentality in that locker room. When we used to do the Kansas City games and we talked to their players, all we got to do is keep it close and Patrick will win it at the end. That's exactly what these guys feel. If we do our job, we keep it close, Baker's going to win it for us. They have so much confidence right now. They're playing with wide receiver number 4 and number 5, and they don't think anybody can stop them.
How does that happen, Coach? I mean, how does that happen? How does he even have the timing and rhythm with those guys?
A lot of it is Baker, and just the fact that he is one of those guys over there staying, they're working after practice. They just feel confident in each other. Todd Bowles, too. I have to give him a great deal of credit for this, the way he's created that chemistry in the locker room. And we keep coming back to this. Teams that are doing well, you look at the leadership and the coaches create that unity and that belief. And they've had a ton of injuries to deal with. Todd's a no excuses, no explanation guy. Okay, Chris Godwin goes out. Tez Johnson, you're going to go in the slot. We're going to do the same things, and you're going to make plays. And Tez was so funny. He said he's a 7th-round pick. He finally gets in, catches a touchdown pass. He says, I catch this ball. We go ahead, and the crowd's yelling, MVP, MVP. And he said, I just made one play. And they're like, fool, they're talking about Baker. They're not talking about But that's the kind of chemistry they have.
Coach, I heard him tell that story. That was a phenomenal story.
I was crying.
I look at the Colts, too, and they have a lot of positive things going on with them. You know, that offensive line is really, really good with Quentin Nelson and those guys. They can run the football. Jonathan Taylor seems like he's been one of the best backs. Tyler Warren, you hear me talk about him all the time and just his impact as a tight end. And then when you look at their weapons, they got these big wide receivers, but they also have Josh Downs, a little shifty guy. They just got a lot of weapons. So for me, I put more emphasis on the defensive side of the ball. I'm really starting to trust Daniel Jones because he has so much stuff around him. But to me, if I have any question mark at times, it's the defense a little bit.
It is. You're spot on, Rodney. I've been there a couple times, and these players believe in each other. They've got that unity going. Daniel Jones has been a big part of that, bringing people together. Jonathan Taylor. I actually talked to the chaplain up there who was there when I was there, and he said they've got a tight-knit unit. They've got about 40 guys coming to chapel every Sunday. That's just how they believe in each other. And the defense has been the one that's had the injuries, especially in the secondary, and that's been tough on them. But their belief is, hey, the next man up will step in, and everybody else will pick it up around them, and we're going to be okay. And they just have this feeling. I worry about that secondary until they can get some of these guys back. But man, they're playing with a lot of confidence right now.
Yep. Oh, yes, they are. Sunday Night Football in week number 7, fellas. The Falcons. I think they've played more primetime games this year than maybe the last decade. And here they are again. It looks sweeter now that they're at 3-2, their second Sunday night game of the year. And remember, they won that first one in Minnesota on the road. Impressive performance to get that. Now they're at the 49ers with all these injuries, who sit at 4-2 despite that. Rodney, opening thought on this game. How do you see it?
Yeah, I would expect Bijan Robinson to touch the ball 25 times. You know, no Fred Warner, and he's their best player on the team. And then, I mean, who's going to be that leader on the defense? No Bosa, no Dre Greenlaw, no Talanoa Hufanga. They lost a ton of players on that defense, and losing Fred Warner is huge. I expect the Falcons to come out and be able to move the ball, score points against their defense. I look at their defense. It's a solid defense, but I don't know too many guys up front in their front 4, Coach, which is something that it's always been a strength of the 49ers, their front 4.
That was what I had written down here. Battle of the running games. Who can stop the other team? Can the 49ers stop Bijan without Warner and Greenlaw and that crew? Robert Saleh being there, he'll come up with a plan, but still, that's going to be tough. And on the other side of the ball, I know Kyle Shanahan looked at that Buffalo game and saw all the pressure that was on Josh Allen and the mistakes they forced him into. He's not going to let the game go like that. He is going to run the football at those guys and keep them honest, not let those rushers pin their ears back. So can Atlanta stop Christian McCaffrey running the ball? I think the running back that has the best night is going to win the ball game.
Yeah, you look at the Falcons defensively, too. They don't have to worry about chasing a Josh Allen, a mobile quarterback. You know, they're dealing with Matt Jones, so maybe that draws their attention a little bit more on the run since they don't have to worry about a scrambling quarterback. That makes a difference, too.
Well, I know Kyle Shanahan and Cris, their offensive line coach with me in Tampa and Indy. And I know they looked at that game and they saw Dalvin Cook average 5.1 yards a carry running the ball for Buffalo, but not get the ball but 10 or 12 times. That's not going to happen. If Christian McCaffrey is averaging 5 yards a carry, he's going to get the ball Sunday night.
Hey, Coach, and I agree with you totally. And really the vulnerable spot for the Falcons is when you run downhill, run straight at them. Just run straight at them. Yeah. Because this is one of the fastest teams that I've seen Atlanta have on the defensive side of the ball. So they want to go horizontal. They want to go sideline to sideline. They struggle when you run the ball straight at them. And that's what I expect Kyle Shanahan to do.
And Bobby Turner, longtime running back coach at San Francisco. He's been there with all of those guys, and he was in Denver with Kyle's dad. And his philosophy is you get one cut. You see a hole, you get one. There's no this or that, Judah. One cut and go, and that's what we're going to see on Sunday night from McCaffrey.
You're talking about that's Terrell Davis in Denver. Yeah, that's Terrell Davis, the one cut.
Yep.
Downhill, one cut. Can you tackle us? And it's all of a sudden it's 5 yards, it's 6 yards, it's 7 yards, and they just wear you down. And that's what Kyle does such a good job of, Coach, creating these creative run scheme gaps and things like that. And that's what I expect from him on Sunday night.
Yeah. So which team is going to be able to stop the run? Yep.
I like it. Good old-fashioned game of who should be the favorite. Who should be the favorite to win this game, and by how many points do you think they're better than the other team? Rodney, go ahead. Who should be the favorite to win?
The favorites should be the 49ers. They're at home. It's always a tough trip for Atlanta to go from where we're at down south all the way to the West Coast. That's just a tough trip. And this team is actually, I think this could be a bad matchup for the Falcons simply because of all the scheme runs and all the downhill running, if he stays disciplined and if George Kittle is able to play, Coach.
Well, Kittle is supposed to be back. He's practicing. Yeah. We'll see how that goes. I picked against Atlanta last time we had him at Minnesota. I thought that was going to be a tough deal. I'm looking at everything the same way. Okay, you played on Monday night, short week. You got a West Coast trip. All of those things factor against you. But I still, Bijan Robinson against a depleted defense without Fred Warner. I think Raheem is going to pound that ball, and I think it's going to be a tight game. But I don't know who's going to.
You don't want to say it right now.
So, Coach, who would be the favorite? Would you say San Francisco slightly, or would you say Atlanta?
I think San Francisco slight favorite at home. Atlanta coming off a short week and having to travel. That's a problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Survey says San Francisco by 2.
By 2.
That sounds right. That sounds right.
It is, but almost that's entering the sort of pick'em territory as you have a home team that normally gets even a little more cushion than that. We'll track it as the week goes along. And then we got a nice long flight to continue to track it as we all head out to San Francisco. Gentlemen, I cannot wait. Week number 7 of Sunday Night Football.
It's going to be a good one.
Home of Super Bowl 60, our first look at it this year. Can't wait to see you guys out there. FNIA podcast. We are out. Peace.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.